Adelaide is a large and beautiful port city in southern Australia, where more than 1 million people live and work. This place seems peaceful but contains mysterious stories that few people know. As the fifth largest economic center in the country, Adelaide has attracted countless people drawn by the promise and hope of a stable new life. However, one day in 1999, this city witnessed a shocking crimes that left deep regret in the hearts of those who heard their stories. In this video, we will uncover every secret about the two crimes that took place that year. What really happened? Is there any connection between the two cases? Let's travel back in time to April 1999 to explore the truth and gradually unveil this mystery. In early April 1999, the police in Adelaide received a report that 30-year-old Maya Jakic had gone missing. Shortly after receiving the information, Adelaide police began their investigation. They reached out to Maya's friends and searched the areas she frequented, but nothing suspicious was found. On April 17, 1999, a police officer heading to the parking lot noticed a piece of paper tucked under the windshield wiper of a car. He picked up the note, and its contents left him utterly shocked. There's a girl dead in the bushes near the main road close to the Payneham police station. This is not a joke, you'd better go there. After reading the note, the police officer immediately reported the situation to his superiors. However, the superiors did not appear too surprised to hear the news because on the night of April 12th, about 5 days earlier, they had received two anonymous calls related to this incident. When the mysterious calls came in, the police had already searched the mentioned area but found nothing noteworthy. As a result, they assumed it might have been a prank. 5 days later, a note with similar content appeared, making them think that someone was intentionally harassing and teasing them. However, according to their responsibility, they still have to check again. This time, they sent a new officer to the area listed on the piece of paper. The destination is actually located near an old abandoned police station, not the police station currently in use. Because he was new, the officer was very meticulous, carefully searching every nook and cranny of the bushes around that area. Sure enough, he discovered a girl's body covered under a layer of leaves and branches. Immediately, he reported the incident to his superiors. After conducting a forensic examination, experts determined that the victim died from strangulation with clothes on April 12th, about 5 days ago. The victim was identified as Maya, a 30-year-old immigrant from Croatia who lived in Adelaide. She had been reported missing some time earlier. According to forensic results, Maya was murdered on April 12th. Police received a mysterious note and found her body on April 17th. It is worth noting that on the evening of April 12th, they also received two anonymous calls, not long apart. Through audio analysis, police believe that both calls were made by the same person. After receiving the call on the night of April 12th, the police sent people to search but found nothing. At that time, they were confused because there were two abandoned police stations on Payneham Road and the search team went to the wrong location. Based on the available clues, the police suspected that both the anonymous calls on the night of April 12th and the note left on the windshield on April 17th were made by the perpetrator. It seemed the killer wanted Maya's body to be discovered as soon as possible. Since the police failed to locate Maya's body on April 12th, the perpetrator sent an additional anonymous letter to remind them. After receiving this new information, the police carefully examined the letter and discovered that it contained no fingerprints or DNA traces. This shows that the perpetrator is very careful and arrogant. He left the body right near the police station and even intentionally contacted them after the crime, as if he was challenging and toying with them. The victim, Maya, 30 years old, was known as a kind-hearted person who had no conflicts with anyone. However, before the incident, she had a major argument with her mother and decided to move out on her own. After the incident, Maya's mother was overwhelmed with grief and regret. She blamed herself, thinking that if the conflict hadn't happened, Maya might not have left home and wouldn't have faced such a tragic fate. The police determined that it was likely that the perpetrator initially wanted to sexually assault Maya but was unsuccessful, so he murdered her. If this is truly a random crime, that makes it even more difficult to solve. As time passed, the police worked tirelessly on the investigation but couldn't find any witnesses. All the clues gradually disappeared, and the police were unable to identify any suspects. Coincidentally, at the time Maya was murdered, the area was hosting the Adelaide 500 supercar race, which drew large crowds of fans from around the world. The police speculated that the perpetrator might have been among the spectators at the race. However, with such a large crowd and many attendees having left Australia after the event, the search became even more challenging. Facing this situation, the police hit a dead end and decided to seek help from the public. They released audio recordings along with a mysterious note, hoping someone might recognize the voice or handwriting of the perpetrator. Shortly after the information was made public, the police department received a flood of calls from the public, with many claiming to recognize the voice and handwriting. However, after investigating each individual, none of them matched the person the police were looking for, leaving the case at another dead end. By 2001, 2 years later, the case remained unsolved. While still struggling with Maya's case, the Adelaide police found themselves faced with another challenging investigation. On Thursday, August 9, 2001, the Adelaide police received a report about the disappearance of an 18-year-old Japanese student named Megumi Suzuki. She had been absent from class for several days. The police went to Megumi's student apartment to investigate and found that most of her daily necessities and study materials were still in the room, with no signs that she had moved elsewhere. On the bed, there was a teddy bear, and beneath it was a survey and statistical form that she was supposed to complete and submit by the previous weekend, but it was still lying on the bed. The police quickly informed Megumi's parents in Japan about the situation. According to her parents, if Megumi had moved, she would have definitely taken her teddy bear, her most cherished keepsake. The fact that the teddy bear was still in the room greatly worried them, and they decided to fly from Japan to Australia. The police continued to check surveillance cameras around the apartment. They discovered that on the morning of Friday, August 3rd, at 7:41 a.m., Megumi left the apartment to go to school. At 3:08 p.m. on the same day, she left school after classes and went to a shopping center. It appeared that she was shopping alone, and after leaving the center, she completely disappeared without a trace. A road maintenance worker reported to the police that he had found a backpack in the grass by the roadside. The police confirmed that the backpack belonged to Megumi Suzuki, the Japanese student who had gone missing a few days earlier. Inside the backpack, there was a student ID, some textbooks, cosmetics, a bus ticket, and a credit card. However, two items she usually carried were missing from the bag: a mobile phone and a CD player. According to the information on the bus ticket, Megumi boarded the bus on the evening of August 3rd, but the bus route did not head toward her apartment. After getting off the bus, she went to a nearby gas station and purchased a new SIM card for her mobile phone. She used the SIM card to call her ex-boyfriend 12 times that day, but none of the calls were answered. Her ex-boyfriend lived near this gas station. The police speculated that because she couldn't get in touch with her ex-boyfriend, Megumi may have returned to the nearby bus stop to head home. After that, she mysteriously disappeared. Based on the clues, the police sought out her ex-boyfriend to investigate. He was very cooperative and shared that, although they had broken up, they still maintained a good friendship. He was a local, while Megumi was from Japan, so she often turned to him when she faced difficulties, as he made her feel safe. On the night of August 3rd, when the incident occurred, Megumi's ex-boyfriend was not at home but was attending a party with friends. With a clear alibi, the police ruled him out as a suspect. After Megami's parents arrived in Australia, they, along with the police, searched for their daughter for several days without success. Eventually, they made a public statement on television, hoping that someone could provide a useful clue to help them find their daughter as soon as possible. As the days passed, the case showed no progress. While the Adelaide police were at a dead end with Megami's disappearance, they received a new lead related to Maya's case, which had occurred 2 years earlier. At that time, the police had posted the audio recordings of the anonymous phone call on the police department's website. Everyone could access and listen to these two recordings. In the early 2000s, the internet began to gain popularity in Adelaide, and as more people started using it, more individuals were able to listen to these anonymous calls. The police's release of the audio recordings seemed to be effective. The informant stated that he was certain about who made the calls, and that person was 36-year-old Mark Aaron Rust. Rust was born in 1965, is from Adelaide. He is a professional taxi driver and has a criminal record. Since he was 13 years old, he liked to chase beautiful young girls and dreamed of doing it with young girls. One of Rust's pastimes was exposing himself to female students at a bus stop in North Adelaide. He even sexually assaulted his second wife's daughter. The first official charge was filed in 1983, followed by 11 to 13 cases of sexual offenses and several other charges, including assault and arson. On August 16th, 7 days after the disappearance of Japanese student Suzuki, a woman was working late alone at a company on Kensington Road in Adelaide when a strange man quietly approached her and threatened her with a knife. She was subsequently sexually assaulted, and to protect her life, she did not resist. After the man left, she secretly recorded the car's license plate and reported it to the police. Based on the license plate, the police traced the man to be Rust, the same person reported by his younger brother regarding the audio recordings. After gathering sufficient evidence, the police immediately sent officers to arrest Rust. Do you remember the piece of paper found on the police car that I mentioned at the beginning of the video? Although there were no fingerprints or DNA, there was still handwriting. The police later compared the handwriting on the paper with Rust's and found many similarities. Besides, while Rust was in custody, a fellow inmate provided the police with some very surprising information. The cellmate said that the CD player he was listening to did not belong to him, but rather to a Japanese girl. Additionally, he repeatedly bragged about the things he had done. After receiving the tip-off, the police confiscated Mark's CD player, which bore a serial number. They then reached out to Suzuki's parents in Japan to verify the information by cross-referencing it with the serial number. Fortunately, the family found the receipt for the CD player at home, and after comparing the serial number, the result was an exact match. The informant also revealed that the Japanese girl was killed in an empty lot, and some of her clothes were burned near a gas station. On the night of August 3rd, just before the incident occurred, there was a small fire near the gas station, and firefighters discovered traces of clothing in the burn remnants. However, aside from those traces, they found nothing else. The informant also stated that after killing the girl, he threw her body into a trash bin near the vacant lot. However, when the police conducted a search of nearby trash bins, they found no evidence related to the case. It is possible that the body had been transported to a landfill, prompting the police to mobilize a large team to search the site. Fortunately, they eventually managed to locate her body. By October 2001, Rust was charged with the murders of two women, 30-year-old Maya and 18-year-old Suzuki. Initially, he claimed not to know the victims, but faced with overwhelming evidence, he ultimately confessed to the crimes. Rust had been married twice, but both marriages ended in failure. He was diagnosed with Klinefelter syndrome, a chromosomal disorder that deeply affected his self-esteem from a young age. Over time, this led to a profound resentment toward women, ultimately contributing to his descent into becoming a psychopathic killer. Regarding Maya's case, Rust confessed that on April 12th, while driving his taxi along Payneham Road, he spotted her walking alone. He approached and offered her a ride, but she declined. Undeterred, he continued to follow and asked again, but Maya remained steadfast in her refusal. As she turned to walk away, he attacked her from behind. Initially, his intention was to commit rape, but he later decided to carry out an even more ruthless act to satisfy his craving for a thrill. After killing Maya, he abandoned her body in a bush near the old Payneham police station, then called the police to experience the satisfaction of seeing the horror on their faces when they discovered the body. With the 18-year-old Japanese girl Suzuki, Rust stated that one evening, while driving, he saw her standing alone holding a phone near a gas station. Noticing that the area was deserted and no one was around, he couldn't control his urges and approached her, covering her mouth from behind. When Suzuki tried to resist, he immediately turned violent against her. Both victims were very young, with bright futures ahead of them. Suzuki, in particular, was only 18 years old. She had been sent by her family to Adelaide to learn about a different culture and experience a new life, but unfortunately, she crossed paths with this cold-blooded killer. Had the police not caught him, Rust would likely have continued committing more brutal crimes. In May 2003, the Adelaide court sentenced him to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. This was a very severe punishment, almost the highest sentence in Australia. During the trial, he appeared indifferent and showed no remorse. However, the harsh sentence from the law was what he truly deserved to pay for the crimes he had committed. Hopefully, this outcome will bring some comfort to the victims' families. Today's video will end here. See you in the next videos.